The financing trap. Why banks don't want you watching this. I'm about to show you something that made me physically sick when I finally understood it. 3 years ago, I was sitting at my kitchen table at 2 in the morning, calculator in hand, going through my car loan paperwork for the 15th time that week. My hands were shaking. Not because I owed money, that part I knew, but because I had just discovered that the $28,000 car I bought was going to cost me $43,720 by the time I finished paying it off. And here's the part that made my stomach drop. I had been making payments for 2 years already, and I had barely touched the actual price of the car. How is that even possible? How does paying faithfully every single month for 24 months leave you almost exactly where you started? The answer is so simple, so brutally mathematical, that once you see it, you'll never look at a loan the same way again. And that's exactly why the person who sold you that loan never explained it this way. They handed you papers, pointed at the monthly payment, smiled, and said congratulations. But what they didn't tell you, what they will never tell you, is how the math is specifically designed to keep you paying for as long as possible while feeling like you're making progress. You're not going crazy. The system actually works against you, and today I'm going to show you exactly how, and more importantly, how to beat it 5 times faster than they ever planned. But first, if you've ever felt that sinking feeling when you check your loan balance and realize you've barely made a dent, hit that like button right now, because this video is about to change the way you think about every single dollar you owe. Let me take you back to the moment everything clicked for me. I was staring at my loan statement, the one that comes every month that most people throw away or file without reading. But this time, I actually read it. The total payment was $512. Seemed reasonable, I had been paying it like clockwork. But then I saw the breakdown, and that's when the room started spinning. Out of that $512, only $178 went toward the actual car. The rest, $334, went straight to interest. Pure profit for the bank. I sat there trying to comprehend how that math was even legal. I was giving them $334 every month for the privilege of owing them money. For 2 years, I had paid them over $8,000 in interest alone, and the car was still worth less than what I owed. The word for this is underwater, but it felt more like drowning. I grabbed my phone and called my friend Marcus, the only person I know who actually reads financial documents for fun. He's that guy. I asked him if this was normal, if everyone's loans worked like this, and he laughed. Not a happy laugh, the kind of laugh you make when you realize someone just discovered something you wish they hadn't. He said, "Yeah, man, that's how they get you. The interest front loads. They designed it that way on purpose." On purpose. Those 2 words haunted me for days. This wasn't an accident or some complicated financial phenomenon I was too dumb to understand. This was engineered, calculated, designed specifically to extract the maximum amount of money from people like me, who just wanted a reliable car to get to work. So I did what anyone would do when they feel betrayed by math. I went down the rabbit hole. I spent the next 3 weeks learning everything I could about amortization, interest calculations, principal payments, and loan structures. And what I found was so much worse than I imagined, but also, and this is the part that changed my life, so much simpler to fix than anyone wants you to know. Here's the ugly truth about how your loan actually works. When you borrow money, the bank calculates interest based on your remaining balance. Sounds fair, right? You owe less, you pay less interest. Except here's the trick. They calculate that interest daily, but you only make payments monthly. So in the beginning, when your balance is highest, the interest is massive. Every single day you owe them money, interest is piling up. By the time your monthly payment arrives, most of it gets eaten by the interest that accumulated over those 30 days. Only the scraps, the leftovers, actually reduce what you owe. The bank then recalculates interest on your new, barely reduced balance, and the cycle repeats. Month after month, year after year. They call this amortization, which is just a fancy word for spreading payments over time. But what they don't tell you is that the spread isn't even. It's deliberately weighted toward interest first, principal later. In the first year of a typical 5-year loan, you might pay 70% interest and 30% principal. It's not until year 3 or 4 that this ratio starts to flip. By then, you've already paid thousands in interest, and if life happens, if you need to sell or refinance, you're stuck because you owe more than the thing is worth. I remember the exact moment I felt the anger turn into something else. I was at a coffee shop, laptop open, spreadsheet in front of me, and I had just run the numbers on what would happen if I paid just one extra $100 per month toward my car loan. The result popped up and I literally said, "No way," out loud. The guy next to me looked over. I didn't care. Because right there, in simple Excel math, I could see that adding $100 per month would cut my loan from 5 years down to 3 years and 4 months. I would save over $4,000 in interest. $4,000 for adding what amounted to 3 coffees a week to my payment. But here's where it gets even crazier. That extra $100 didn't just shave off a few months at the end. It fundamentally changed how the entire loan worked. Because every extra dollar you pay goes directly to principal, not interest. 0% to the bank's pocket, 100% to killing your debt. And once that principal drops, the daily interest calculation drops with it. Suddenly you're not fighting uphill anymore. You're in control. I tested every scenario I could think of. What if I paid an extra $50? What about $200? What if I made payments every 2 weeks instead of monthly? The results were staggering. The math doesn't lie. And the math was screaming at me that I had been played, but that I could still win. Right then I made a decision. I was going to pay off this car in 18 months instead of the remaining 3 years. People told me I was crazy. Why rush? The payment's affordable. You'll stress yourself out. But I knew something they didn't. The strategy I'm about to share with you is so simple that when I first heard it, I thought there had to be a catch. There isn't. It's pure mathematics, and mathematics doesn't care about marketing or fine print. It just is. The method is called principal acceleration, but I call it the debt kill switch. Because once you activate it, your debt doesn't stand a chance. Here's how it works. You take any extra money you can scrape together, could be $20, could be $200, and you make an additional payment marked Apply to Principal Only. This is critical. You have to specify that it goes to principal, because if you don't, some banks will treat it as an advance payment and apply it the same way they apply your regular payment. Interest first, principal second. Once you mark it principal only, that money acts like a heat-seeking missile. It goes straight to the heart of your debt and destroys it. And because interest is calculated on the remaining principal balance, every dollar you kill today saves you from paying interest on that dollar for every single day that remains on your loan. Let me say that again, because it's the key to everything. Every dollar of principal you eliminate today stops generating interest tomorrow, next month, next year. It's not just about paying off debt faster. It's about stopping the bleeding. Those extra payments don't just speed things up at the end. They change the entire trajectory right now. I started small. I cancelled 2 subscriptions I barely used and put that $55 toward principal. The next month I sold some old electronics, another $75 to principal. I picked up 1 freelance project, $200 to principal. Within 6 months I had reduced my loan balance by over $3,000 more than the minimum payments would have achieved. Now here's where people start asking the question that almost derailed me too. But what if I need that money for emergencies? Fair. Completely fair. And this is where the psychological game comes in, because the banks are counting on your fear to keep you paralyzed. They want you to think that keeping a loan for the full term while maintaining a comfortable savings account is the responsible move. And on the surface, it sounds smart. But let me show you what they're not telling you. Let's say you have an extra $200 this month. Option 1, you put it in a savings account, earning maybe 0.5% interest. Over 5 years, you'll earn basically nothing. Let's call it $12 total if you're lucky. Option 2, you put that $200 toward your loan principal. That $200 is currently costing you, let's say, 6% interest annually. By eliminating it now, you save 6% per year on that $200 for every year remaining on the loan. We're talking about saving $60, $70, maybe $80 just from that single $200 payment, depending on your rate and remaining term. Which move is smarter? The math is brutal. Every dollar sitting in a low-interest savings account while you carry high-interest debt is a dollar actively losing you money. Now, I'm not saying have zero emergency fund. What I'm saying is that if you have credit card debt at 18%, a car loan at 7%, and a savings account at 0.4%, your priorities are mathematically backwards. The real emergency is the interest you're paying every single day. Attack that first, build your emergency fund after, or at least do both simultaneously in a ratio that makes mathematical sense. 3 months into my principal acceleration experiment, something unexpected happened. I got a letter from my bank. They wanted to congratulate me on my excellent payment history and offer me a new loan for a boat. A boat. I couldn't make this up if I tried. Here I was, aggressively trying to get out of debt, and they were actively trying to pull me into more. That's when it truly hit me. The bank doesn't want you to pay off your loan early. They lose money when you do. Every extra dollar you throw at principal is a dollar of future interest they'll never collect. The entire business model depends on you making minimum payments for the maximum amount of time. They profit from your prolonged debt. This isn't some conspiracy theory, it's literally how lending works. They make money on interest over time, so the more time, the more money. When you pay off early, you break their calculator, and they hate it. But here's the beautiful part. There's nothing they can do to stop you. As long as your loan doesn't have a prepayment penalty, and most don't anymore, you can pay as much as you want, whenever you want. And they have to apply it to your principal. You hold all the power, you just didn't know it. So I kept going. Every bonus, every tax refund, every unexpected $20 bill, straight to principal. I started tracking my progress on a whiteboard in my kitchen. Watching that number drop became addictive. 10,000 remaining. 9,000. 8,000. I was paying off in months what was supposed to take years, and with every payment I could feel the invisible grip loosening. But the real test was still coming, and it would prove whether this strategy actually worked or if I was just lucky. Month 14. I had been throwing everything I could at this loan, and my balance was down to just under $4,000. According to the original plan, I should have still owed over $17,000 at this point. I was ahead by $13,000 and had saved thousands in interest that I would have paid over the next 2 years. Then my transmission died. Completely. The repair estimate came back at $2,200. This was the moment everyone warned me about. See, this is why you don't throw all your money at debt. What are you going to do now? And honestly, for about 10 minutes, I panicked. I had been so focused on killing the loan that my emergency savings was smaller than it should have been. But then I did the math, the real math, and realized something incredible. Because I had been accelerating my principal payments, my loan balance was so low that my equity in the car was substantial. I could refinance, take out a small amount for the repair, and still be years ahead of where I started. And this is what I did, I could put the repair on a 0% promotional credit card, pay it off over 6 months, and still finish killing the car loan within my 18-month goal. The point is, because I had been aggressive with principal reduction, I had options, flexibility, power. If I had just been making minimum payments, I'd still owe 17 grand, have no equity, and still need to figure out how to pay for the transmission. I'd be in the exact same emergency, but with a massive anchor of debt still dragging behind me. The strategy didn't eliminate life's problems, but it put me in a position where problems were manageable instead of catastrophic. I fixed the transmission, adjusted my payment plan slightly, and kept moving. Month 18. I made the final payment. The car was mine, completely, no bank involved. I logged into my account and watched the balance go to 0, and I'm not ashamed to say I got emotional. Not because I loved the car, it was fine, nothing special, but because I had beaten something that was designed to beat me. I had taken a system that was rigged against me and flipped it. The math was always there, available to anyone, but nobody talks about it because there's no money in teaching people to get out of debt fast. There's money in keeping them in debt long. I calculated the final numbers. Original loan, 5 years, total cost with interest around $43,000 for a $28,000 car. My actual result, 18 months, total cost around $29,000. I saved $14,000 and got 3.5 years of my life back. $14,000 that stayed in my pocket instead of going to bank profits. But the real win wasn't the money. It was the knowledge. Because now I knew how the game worked, and I could never be fooled again. I started teaching this method to friends, family, anyone who would listen. My sister cut her student loan repayment from 10 years to 6. My co-worker eliminated his credit card debt in 14 months instead of the projected 4 years. The math worked for everyone because math doesn't discriminate. It just works. And the craziest part? The banks know you could do this. They know that if every borrower made even small extra principal payments, the entire lending industry would lose billions in interest revenue. That's why they don't advertise it. That's why loan officers don't mention it. That's why the paperwork makes it seem complicated. So, let's get specific, because I know some of you are thinking, this sounds great, but I have no extra money. I get it. I've been there. The first month I tried this, I could only scrape together $23 extra. $23 felt like nothing, meaningless, a drop in the ocean of what I owed. But I paid it anyway, marked principal only, and moved on. You know what that $23 did? It saved me about $8 in interest over the remaining life of the loan. That's a 35% return on investment. Show me a savings account that pays 35%. You can't, because it doesn't exist. That's when I realized the game wasn't about having a lot of extra money. It was about redirecting money I was already wasting. I tracked my spending for 1 week and found $73 that just evaporated. Coffee, vending machine, a streaming service I forgot I had, lunch out when I had food at home. $73 of absolutely nothing. So I cut it and redirected it to principal. The next month I found another 40, then 60. Before long I was finding 200 to 300 extra per month without making more money or suffering. I wasn't depriving myself of anything meaningful. I was just being intentional instead of automatic. And here's the thing nobody tells you. Once you start winning, even small wins, you get addicted to winning more. Paying off debt stops being a burden and starts being a game you're determined to beat. You start looking for extra money everywhere, selling things you don't use, picking up a side gig, negotiating a raise. Not because you have to, but because you want to see that number drop faster. Let me show you the exact formula that changed everything. And I'm going to make it so simple that you can start using it today, right after this video ends. Step 1. Know your enemy. Pull up your loan statement right now and find 3 numbers. Your remaining principal balance, your interest rate, and your minimum monthly payment. Write them down. Step 2. Calculate your daily interest. Take your remaining balance, multiply it by your interest rate as a decimal, then divide by 365. That's how much interest you're being charged every single day. For example, if you owe $10,000 at 6%, that's 10,000 times 0.06, which equals 600 annually, divided by 365, which is $1.64 per day. Every single day you owe that money, you're being charged $1.64. Step 3. Make the minimum payment plus anything extra and mark the extra as principal only. If your minimum is $300 and you can add $50, pay $350 total, but specify that $50 goes to principal. Step 4. Watch what happens next month. Your balance will be lower, which means your daily interest charge is now lower, which means more of next month's minimum payment goes to principal instead of interest. You've created a snowball effect. The more you pay down, the faster it pays down. Step 5. Repeat until dead. There's no step 6. That's it. That's the entire strategy. The banks made you think you needed financial advisors and complex restructuring and debt consolidation. You don't. You need addition, subtraction, and discipline. The math is elementary school level. The results are life-changing. Now I want to address the elephant in the room, the thing some of you are thinking but haven't said yet. This only works if you have extra money, and I legitimately don't. I hear you. Not everyone has room in their budget, and if you're truly living paycheck to paycheck with no excess, this strategy won't work until you create excess. But here's what I've learned from helping dozens of people tackle their debt. Most people have more excess than they think. It's just hidden in habits they've normalized. The average American spends over $200 per month on subscriptions and recurring charges they barely use. The average person spends over $300 per month eating out. I'm not judging, I was that person. But when you're sitting on high-interest debt, every dollar you spend on convenience is a dollar that costs you more tomorrow. So the real question isn't, do I have extra money? It's, am I willing to redirect current spending toward freedom? And if the honest answer is no, that's okay too. Just own it. But don't pretend the system is unbeatable when you haven't actually tried to beat it. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The banks are counting on you to choose comfort over freedom. They profit when you finance the lifestyle you can't afford while paying them interest for the privilege. The moment you flip that script, the moment you choose temporary discomfort for permanent freedom, you break their entire model. And that's exactly why this information isn't taught in schools, advertised on billboards, or explained by loan officers. There's no profit in your freedom. There's massive profit in your extended servitude. I want to take you to the finish line of this story, because the ending is the part that made everything worth it. 2 months after I paid off the car, I had a decision to make. I was so used to making that $512 payment every month that when it disappeared, I had this chunk of money just sitting there. Most people, and I mean most, would absorb that money back into their lifestyle. Bigger apartment, nicer dinners, new subscriptions, lifestyle inflation. And for about 3 seconds I considered it. But then I remembered the feeling of watching that balance hit zero, and I wanted it again. So I took that $512 and started throwing it at my student loans. Same strategy, principal only, every extra dollar a kill shot. Within 8 months, I had eliminated a loan that was supposed to take 9 more years. Then I started building wealth, actual wealth, not the fake wealth of having nice things I'm making payments on. I started investing the money I used to send to banks. I built an emergency fund that could cover 6 months of expenses. I saved up and paid cash for my next car, no loan, no interest, just ownership from day one. And the psychological shift that came with that was bigger than the financial one. I stopped feeling like I was behind. I stopped feeling like I was running on a treadmill. I felt, for the first time in my adult life, like I was actually moving forward. That's what this is really about. Not just money, but control. Autonomy. The ability to make choices based on what you want, not what your debt allows. And it all started with understanding one simple truth. The math was never the mystery. The mystery was why nobody wanted to teach it to me. So here's where we are. You now know something most people will never learn, not because they can't, but because they won't seek it out. You know that your loans are front-loaded with interest on purpose. You know that every extra dollar toward principal is a dollar that stops generating profit for the bank and starts generating freedom for you. You know the exact steps to accelerate any debt payoff by 5 times or more. You know that the system is designed to keep you paying as long as possible, but that you have the power to break that system using nothing but basic math and discipline. The only question left is, what are you going to do with this information? Because knowledge without action is just entertainment. You can watch this video, nod along, feel motivated for 6 hours, and then go back to making minimum payments while complaining that you'll never get ahead. Or you can pull up your loan statement tonight, find that principal balance, calculate your daily interest, and make a decision to start fighting back. Even if it's $20, even if it's 10, the amount doesn't matter at the start. What matters is the decision to stop accepting the game as it's been given to you and start playing to win. If this video made you angry, good. Be angry at the right target. Not at me for showing you, but at a system that profits from your ignorance. And then turn that anger into action. If this video made you hopeful, even better. Hope combined with a plan is unstoppable. Do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because I'm going to keep making videos that pull back the curtain on systems designed to separate you from your money. Smash the like button if you're ready to take control of your debt instead of letting it control you. And drop a comment below. Tell me your debt story. Tell me if you're going to try this strategy. Tell me if you think I'm completely wrong. I don't care. Just engage. Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay stuck. The banks don't want you watching this. Prove them right by doing something about it.